to President Trump on November 5th. The keystone of that mandate was demanding increased transparency of their government and elected leaders. And the mandate of this task force is to acquire that transparency. We will open this up for questions from the media, but first I'd like to hand it over to my esteemed colleague and chairman of the new task force, Congresswoman Luna, for her remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Comer. When our founding fathers stood against tyranny, they did not merely oppose taxes. They defended the sacred idea of individual sovereignty. They declared that no government, agency, or title could infringe upon the freedoms of speech, religion, thought, and the pursuit of truth. For too long, the American spirit has been dimmed by a veil of secrecy, by a government that has grown too comfortable in the shadows, denying us the transparency we deserve. But today, we stand at the dawn of a new era where the light of truth begins to shine through. A few weeks ago, President Donald Trump made a historic announcement. With the stroke of a pen, he committed to declassifying the files concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a decision not just monumental, but pivotal. It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs, unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs, the Epstein client list, the origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files. This task force will be a beacon of bipartisanship. On the Republican side, representatives protect.
I mean, you don't have to be a Republican or a Democrat to really care about this stuff right here. I mean, all my conspiracy theorists stand up right there. JFK, CV-19, MLK. Oh, yeah, man. It's about to get juicy. It's about to get juicy.
Boebert, Burleson, Crane, Gill, and Mace will be joining me, although I'd like to note that I'm expanding this to the entire governing body and will be allowing certain members to waive on. Our first hearing is set for March. The date will be announced soon, and we've already initiated.
Well, guys, let's continue to like the video, man. Show some support. We still got almost 700 of y'all in here. We do appreciate the support. Let's continue to drive the stream forward by way of super chat. That does dictate the stream. So 45 super chats away from opening this call in, man. We still got some more interesting topics to cover. Would love to get some supporters, some of the members, some of the mods up here to discuss everything from tonight. It'd be a great call in live on stream for everybody to see. So let's continue to support. Like the video, double tap the screen if you're able to. 3 buttons in the upper right hand corner as well. Let's keep it going.
Close to a dozen communications with various agencies, to include Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice and the Secretary of State. This will no longer be a task force that makes bold promises only to fade into irrelevance or send strongly worded letters. This will be a relentless pursuit of truth and transparency, and we will not stop until the American people have the answers they deserve. We will cut through the bureaucracy, challenge the stonewalling, and ensure that the American people finally get the truth that they have been denied for too long. If we are to endure and thrive as a nation, we must restore trust through transparency. The American people must be trusted to think for themselves, to form their own judgments from the truth that they are entitled to know. We've been treated like children for too long and kept in the dark by those we elected to serve us. It is my solemn duty to begin mending this trust, to form a new relationship between the government and the governed. Let us embark on this journey together towards a government that does not serve, but one that enlightens. That does not just serve, but one that enlightens. Trust through transparency, that begins now. Without further ado, we'd like to open it up for questions, as I'm sure many of you have those. Hands up.
Thank you, Madam. Obviously, your goals are aligned with the administration's on the declassification of Martin Luther King and the Kennedys. How would you handle if you end up, whether it's President Trump or Attorney General Bondi or DNI Gabbard, if they disagree with what you're looking to declassify on a certain topic, whether it's UAPs or 9/11 or something like that? How would you handle if there's some stuff that they don't necessarily want to declassify?
We'll certainly.
Oh shit, I forgot that. I missed that one. We're getting into the UAPs too, man. Like I said, my conspiracy theorists, man, front of the chat, stand up, bro. This is our moment right here. I got the perfect sound effect for us too, by the way. Yes, sir. Yeah. Aliens, JFK, MLK, Epstein list. Oh man, it's getting juicy, man. I love it. I love it.
FBI, open up!
I think that they'd be supportive, being that they're advocating for this. But also, I want to remind the American people that this is bipartisan. There's also Democrats that are looking into answering these very questions. But certainly, we would share that information with the American people. This is about transparency. And I think, again, as I stated for far too long, there's been a massive push to keep the American people in the dark, and that ends today.
Mm-hmm.
You have subpoena power?
Chairman?
The task force does.
Now I am optimistic, but let's be honest here. They're not going to tell us everything. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Let's not be naive here. They're not going to tell us everything. Come on now. Let's use our big boy brains. We're going to maybe, hopefully figure some shit out. The shit that they can afford to lose. The shit that they can declassify. The extras. The information that's no longer valuable or sensitive to them. They're going to expose that. We'll get that half. There's a good deal that will continue to be left in the dark about. And I mean, they probably have their reasoning for it. But look, again, conspiracy theorists, man, this is what we've been wanting to hear. We are having our day, man. We are having our day.
Does not have subpoena power. I do. The task force is going to be subsidiary of the full oversight committee. So if we have to issue one, Congresswoman Luna, we'll discuss it and we'll take appropriate action.
But in full transparency, we have a great working relationship, as I stated earlier, with the White House, with the DOJ, with the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of State. The incoming FBI director, I think, will be very supportive. And we've also been told that the CIA director is very supportive. To put it in perspective, I think that this issue transcends not just one administration, but multiple administrations. And it hasn't been until now that we've been able to get people actually in positions of power that will push for transparency. Now, if I find that different entities in the various intelligence agencies are stonewalling us, I'm going to make that known to the American people. But as of right now, we are cautiously optimistic.
What's your priority list? Is Epstein 9/11?
Our first investigation will be announced, but it's going to be covering on a thorough investigation into the John F. Kennedy assassination. And I can tell you, based on what I've been seeing so far, the initial hearing that was actually held here in Congress was actually faulty in the single bullet theory. I believe that there were two shooters, and we should be finding more information.
I mean, for anybody who's privy to the JFK case and knows some of the surrounding details, that's nothing new. She's not really exposing anything truly new there. The two shooter theory has been around for the better part of a while, honestly, and it's all but confirmed at this point. I'm waiting to see who they say that second shooter is, or if they correct who the first shooter was. There's a lot that has to do with that. We'll get into some of that on maybe Conspiracy Hour in the future. But man, like I say, this is I'm damn near blushing, man. Like for a conspiracy theorist, man, this is one of the moments we've all been waiting for. Like I said, I'm optimistic. They're not gonna tell us everything. Come on now. Let's not be naive, but we're gonna get a little something. We're gonna get a piece of the cookie. We're gonna get a piece of the cookie right here.
As we are able to gain access into the SCIF, hopefully before the files are actually released to the public.
Thank you for doing this. Have you identified the Democrats who will sit on the task force? And could you talk a little bit more about the role of Democrats in this?
Yeah, so again, this is a bipartisan commission. Remember, JFK was a Democrat, RFK was a Democrat, and I'm sure that I think the entire conference has a question on what actually happened with Dr. Martin Luther King, but also UAPs. You guys know that that was the biggest bipartisan bicameral hearing that we've ever had, I think, in congressional history. I do not know who their members are yet. They've noticed it, but they're taking this very seriously. This is not a conspiracy theory investigating committee. We're actually looking to present truth to the American people. And it's in my opinion that no one person elected to office is more important or more qualified to look at the information that they've been hiding from us. And so we look to push for that transparency.
What sort of witnesses will you expect to have at your hearings? I know you said the first one's in March. Would that be department heads, former employees of various agencies.
Would you like to jump in?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, based on what we're actually looking to do with the JFK investigation, I'm looking to actually bring in some of the attending physicians at the initial assassination, and then also people that had been on the various commissions looking into, like the Warren Commission looking into the initial assassinations. There's been conflicting evidence, and I think that even the FBI at the time reported some anomalies in the initial autopsy at Bethesda, Maryland. All of those, though, seem to have been rinsed and repeated in the media to push a certain narrative that we don't agree with. And so I think that in order to put to bed some of the theories that have been out there on John F. Kennedy, we have to know the full truth. And the full truth starts with transparency. And that's why these files is so important for the American people to read for themselves.
With this task force, what are you hoping to uncover as far as UAPs that you have not already heard from other UAP hearings?
The biggest information problems that we've had with UAPs is the amount of stonewalling, stovepiping, and also it seems that there is this push to gaslight the American people into looking at the evidence and then not fully believing it. I think for us, if we're writing the budget, for example, into the Pentagon, if we're writing the budget overall for whatever programs might be out there, why is it that members of Congress who are given a top secret security clearance are being denied access? That's not a free and true government. And so for us, especially being that we have now a Secretary of State who's actually open to declassification and Marco Rubio, we're hoping to present that information and at least acknowledge it from a government perspective that we are not alone, but also let's see what the evidence is.
Thank you. Have you already been in contact with or started to send requests to these different agencies?
Oh, and shout out Gerard, man. Good to see you as always, man. One of the long-standing mods and members. Been around for a while, man. We do appreciate the continued support from Gerard. He says, good evening. Man, evening's going well. Hopefully yours is as well, Gerard. Appreciate you tuning in, bro. And as always, it's good to see you.
Federal departments.
Yes, in fact, the letters went out this morning, not just on RFK, JFK, and MLK, but on everything that I had listed above to include UAPs, Epstein, and 9/11 and COVID, to the State Department, Department of Defense, CIA, and then also we'll be sending some to the FBI, and letters have also gone out to the NSA.
How is this going to be different than the House Select Committee on Assassinations, which investigated both the John F. Kennedy assassination and the King assassination?
Well, what's interesting
Yeah, despite the pushback, Tulsi did get past that first round.
on that specific committee is what, to my understanding, when they actually brought in expert witnesses, they weren't actually people that were in attendance to the initial autopsy at Bethesda. But also, this is a bigger committee than just the JFK assassinations. We're also expanding into Epstein, COVID origins, 9/11s, and then UAPs and USOs. And so before, where we initially had some of these hearings, this is going to be an encompassing committee that's going to work directly with the White House on information that they're declassifying.
Just be quick.
Yeah.
There's the Warren Committee,
Mhm.
but also the Select.
Correct. Correct. There's actually 3 different government investigations into the JFK assassination. But again, this committee is expanding not just there, but outwards into other fields. And again, we're working directly with the White House. In previous investigations, they didn't have access to the information that we are going to have access to. And so that's a big deal, especially if you're looking at what truly happened with JFK.
Are you going to get a top secret clearance?
I already have a top secret clearance.
You do.
All members of Congress have a TSCI. The question is do we get SAP access, of which Chairman Comer has been very supportive and will be getting SAP access as well.
I mean, I
Okay.
ain't gonna lie. It was kind of like, something about how she said I already have a security clearance kind of a little bit sexy. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, something about a woman in uniform. All right, now let me stop, chat. Let me stop.
Okay, 2 more and then we're going to wrap it up.
Obviously, some of the questions on some of these
Something about
topics,
how she
whether it's
said she got
Jeffrey
security
Epstein or
clearance, though. That was a
COVID-19,
little
the
bit sexy.
questions are on
Oh,
this. What
no.
specifically, though, are the questions you're looking to get answered in regards to September 11th?
We just want the truth. How much did the CIA know in advance? But also remember, when you have only certain information that's shared with the American people, that's when conspiracy theories happen. And it's in my opinion that conspiracy theories can be detrimental. It doesn't mean that in the last couple of months we haven't been right on a few things. But what I will say is I think that we deserve to give this information to the American people. I don't agree with the stonewalling that's occurred. And also, how do we prevent things like it from happening in the future? And we have to know the full picture, and the American people deserve to know that as well.
Can we expect any collaboration with the Department of Government Efficiency
I don't know what information Doge would have, but I would encourage them if they have anything on JFK, Epstein, or anything in between that they bring it to our office immediately. Okay, one more and then we'll wrap it up.
Can we have this one? This is for Sheriff Comer, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Your oversight of sanctuary cities. Senior City Mayor Eric Adams.
Yeah, I'm looking at old girl. I think her name is Anna Luna. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I see somebody in the chat said drill baby drill, and I mean I mean, hey.
And apart from the other Democrats, and that he's cultivating a relationship with President Trump and has been critical of sanctuary laws. And what do you hope to uncover with this hearing?
Well, we have a lot of questions. Some of the people in the mayor.
And we're about 44 super chats away from opening that call in, guys. We got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about tonight, man. We'd love to get some of the members, some of the supporters up here for a live call in on stream for everybody to see. Let's keep it going, guys. 44 super chats away. We got an interesting video to cover after this one. But like the video, guys. Double tap the screen for your boy. Let's keep it going.
Mayor's administrations have been vocal that they weren't going to comply with federal law, that they were going to continue to act as sanctuary cities. We want to know about coordination and communication they had between the previous administration. How did so many of these illegals get there? Who was paying for it? Who were they communicating with to be able to provide housing and so many other benefits to such a large population of people? Just the basic questions we all have. Who was paying for it? Who was leading the efforts to transport the illegals from wherever their entry point was in the United States to these sanctuary cities? And are the mayors going to comply with federal law now? Are they going to work with Tom Homan and the national security groups in the Trump administration to try to deport the criminal illegals and stop being a sanctuary city?
Do you feel less worried about Eric Adams himself considering his signals?
Worried about what?
Do we feel less worried about Eric Adams?
Eric Adams, I mean, he was one of the first mayors to bring up the crisis situation, the fiscal impact on the city. So I think he would.
He was one of the first mayors to bring up the crisis situation of the impact on the city, but he was also one of the first mayors to raise his hand and sign his city up, subject his city to the dangers of being a migrant city or a sanctuary city, as we call it. But we really should be just referring to it as a migrant city. We went over the other day how these so-called sanctuary cities literally turn into safe havens for violent criminals and migrants tied to gangs and criminal enterprise. It's hilarious. Sanctuary cities turn into safe havens for gang members. Like, what the hell? And I love this switch up by Eric Adams. He's trying to almost affiliate himself with conservatives, almost put himself in line with Trump for a potential pardon. He has some stuff looming in the background over his head. But it is funny, after all this backlash, after all the damage done to his city, everything he has going on, he's changing his tune. He's wanting to represent all citizens of his city, not just the Democratic ones, not just the liberals. He's over here sticking up for the conservatives, for the Trump voters of his city. Again, aligning himself with Trump by, sitting down with certain conservative pundits, regurgitating certain conservative talking points. It's hilarious to see him make that switcheroo like that, because I'm just like, my boy, didn't you sign your city up to be a sanctuary city? Now, we're not going to pretend like there isn't some benefit. Like, come on now. The mayors that are signing their city up to be sanctuary cities, we're not going to act like there ain't no benefit, no financial incentive for them to do so. Like, let's not be naive here, right? You was one of the first to sign your city up for it, but now you're one of the first to say, "Oh no, this is kind of hurt New York, and I gotta be a representative for all my citizens." Like, I wonder what happened. That man changed his tune real fast.
Be a very good witness, and we have a lot of questions for him, just like we do the other three mayors. So,
all right, one last question, then we're going to wrap it up. News Nation, let's go.
Can I ask about your relationship with whistleblowers? Is it going to be the normal process that oversight typically does, or are you going to create a separate avenue for the task force?
I mean, we're all about the normal process, but look, if you have information and it's credible, we've always approached it in that I'd like to be the person that does the interviews for it, mainly because, especially with stuff like this, we want to make sure that there's, not bad actors that are pushing false information to create a narrative that's simply not there. And so, every whistleblower that does come forward, as of right now, there's people that have been publicly out there, for example, on the JFK stuff, that were actually present in the room at the operating room where he was actually brought to right after the shooting. So we hope to bring those people in to testify. And again, these hearings will be open to the public. I'm also expanding this to the entire conference. So if someone's going to take this seriously and look at it through an investigative lens and get answers for the American people, they're welcome to ask questions of the witnesses, and you guys will all receive notice of that.
And we'll work with anyone who currently works for the federal government that wants to declare whistleblower status and receive whistleblower protection, if that's what they're interested in doing. And I don't think they're going to face the type of retaliation that the previous administration gave whistleblowers, particularly the IRS whistleblowers that blew the whistle on the cover-up of the Biden family.
And I'd also like to close with this. If you are an independent investigator, we are being told that the FBI has now located thousands of pages of documents that they lost before, specifically relating to JFK. We are going to get through as much as we can. We have a great team of attorneys. We have a great team of investigators looking into this, but it doesn't mean that we won't accept help from the public. And so we will be setting up a place for collection for people to present information. But again, this is about transparency. The government works for us. There have been people, I think, in power for too long that try to silo us and keep us in the dark, but that stops today. You're seeing that same message come out of the White House, out of the CIA, the FBI, and every other agency in between. So we are very happy to have the support of all of those individuals, happy to have the support of Chairman Comer and Speaker Johnson. And if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to oversight comms, and we'd be happy to answer those at that time. Thank you, guys.
All right. So as we transition from that, we got a story about my man here, Mark Fogel. For those of y'all who don't know, he's an American teacher arrested in, I want to say, 2020 or 2021 in Russia for having 0.6 of medical, at 0.6, less than a gram, half of a gram of medical marijuana. Was arrested in prison, I think sentenced to 10 plus years in a Russian prison for being in possession of marijuana. Now, we all know there was a particular famous basketball player who we did a pretty uneven trade for when it came to getting her back for the same offense. But we left the teacher, somebody who shapes the minds of the youth in America, somebody who invests in America actively. We left the teacher over there to rot in a jail cell.